I'm doing an Israel-Palestine debate next week. But I have to ask you just your thoughts, maybe even from a U.S. perspective. What do you think about Hamas attacks on Israel? What would be the right thing for Israel to do? And what's the right thing for U.S. to do in this? If you're looking at the geopolitics of it.
I mean, it's not a topic that I get into a lot because I'm a non-expert. And because I'm not, unlike every other American, I'm not emotionally invested in other countries just in general. I mean, I admire them or not, and I love visiting them. I love Jerusalem, probably my favorite city in the world. But I don't have an emotional attachment to it. So maybe I've got more clarity. I don't know, maybe less. Here's my view. I believe in sovereignty, as mentioned, and I think each country has to make decisions based on its own interest, but also with reference to its own capabilities and its own long-term interest. And it's very unwise for, I'm not a huge fan of treaties. Some are fine, too many bad. But I think U.S. aid, military aid to Israel and the implied security guarantees, some explicit, but many implied security guarantees of the United States to Israel probably haven't helped Israel that much long-term. You know, it's a rich country with a highly capable population. Like every other country, it's probably best if it makes its decisions based on what it can do by itself. So I would definitely be concerned if I lived in Israel, because I think, fair or unfair, and really this is another product of technology, social media, public sentiment in that area is boiling over. And I think it's going to be hard for some of the governments in the region, Jordan, Egypt, Turkey, to contain their own population. They don't want conflict with Israel at all. They were all pretty psyched, actually, for the trend in progress, the Saudi peace deal, which was never signed, but would have been great for everybody. Because like trade, peace, normal relations, like that's good. Okay, let's just say. I know John Bolton doesn't like it, but it's good. And it's kind of what we should be looking for. But now it's not possible. And, you know, if you had like a coalition of countries against Israel, I know Israel has nuclear weapons and has a capable military and all that, and the backing of the United States, but like it's a small country. I think I'd be very worried. So there's that. And I don't see any advantage in to the United States. I mean, I think it's important for each country to make its own decisions.
But it also is a place, like you said, where things are boiling over and it could spread across multiple nations into a major military conflict.
Yeah, well, I think very easily could happen. In fact, probably right after Ramadan, if I had to guess. And yeah, I pray it doesn't. But again, I don't think you can overstate the lack of wisdom, weakness, short-term thinking of American foreign policy leadership. These are the architects of the Iraq War, of the totally pointless destruction of Libya, totally pointless destruction of Syria, and the 20-year occupation of Afghanistan that resulted in a return to the status quo. So like of the Vietnam War, their track record of the Korean War, even going back 80 years, is uninterrupted failures, one after the other. So I just don't have any confidence in those leaders to improve. When was the last time they improved another country? Can you think of that? Oh, the Marshall Plan. Well, you look at Europe now and you're like, I don't know, if that worked. But even if it did work, again, 80 years ago. So when was the last country American foreign policy makers improved? So if I were, Netanyahu's in a very difficult place politically, impossible. I mean, I'm glad I'm not Netanyahu. And I'm not sure he's capable of making wise long-term decisions anyway. But if I was just like an Israeli, I'd be like, I don't know if I want like all this help and guidance. So yeah, I actually think it's worse than just having just returned from the Middle East and talking to a lot of pretty open-minded sort of pro-Israeli Arabs who want stability above all. The merchant class always wants stability. So I'm on their side, I guess. And they're like, man, this could get super ugly super fast. American leadership is completely absent. It's just all posturing. It's like people like Nikki Haley. You just wonder, like, how does an advanced civilization promote someone like Nikki Haley to a position of authority? It's like, what? Shh. Adults are talking. Nikki Haley, please go away. Like that would be the appropriate response, but everyone's so intimidated to be like, oh, she's a strong woman. She's so transparently weak and sort of ridiculous and doesn't know anything. And it's just like thinks that jumping up and down and making these absurd blanket statements, repeating bumper stickers is like leadership or something. It's like a self-confident, advanced society would never allow Nikki Haley to advance. I mean, she's really not impressive. Sorry.
I just feel like you hold back too much and don't tell us what you really think.
Sorry.
So I think you just should speak your mind more often.
These are not, I mean, you can completely disagree with my opinions, but in the case of Nikki Haley, it's not like an opinion formed just from watching television, which I don't watch. It's an opinion formed from knowing Nikki Haley. So
strong words from Tucker. Well,
felt too. Well, the world's in the balance. I mean, it's not just like,
this is important stuff.
Yeah, it's not just like, well, what should the capital gains rate be? It's like, do we live or die? I don't know. Let's consult Nikki Haley. So if you're asking, should we live or die and consulting Nikki Haley, clearly you don't care about the lives of your children. That's how I feel.